What if what we call public opinion was just a manufactured narrative that makes it easier to convince people that if their views are different, then there's something wrong with that, or there's something wrong with them?
Spending is a tax. As soon as the government spends money, eventually it's a tax. Sometimes we put a direct tax on the people, sometimes we borrow the money, and sometimes we print the money.
Freedom and the dignity of the individual have been more available and assured here than in any other place on earth.
The Patrick Riggins Show. And now your host, Patrick Riggins.
Welcome again this week to the Patrick Riggins Show, saving you from the lies of the beautiful people. Little 6 a.m. to kick off the show this week. You do need to be on the lookout for that, the lies of the beautiful people. The beautiful people being a metaphor for the people who we put on pedestals, whether they be physically beautiful or not. Too many of us here in this country, we put the president and or our congressional representatives on this pedestal of unerring benevolence, that this person is someone who is looking out for our best interests and that of our country. Frequently, though, nothing could be further from the truth. And speaking of the truth, that's all you get here on the premier show of the Libertarian Lighthouse Radio Network, that being the Patrick Riggins Show. We're also heard here locally in Knoxville, Tennessee on News Talk 98.7 WOKI. Being in radio and having access to all kinds and sorts of listener research and demographics, I know that quite a few people in this audience stay pretty busy throughout the week, and I take that into account when I'm putting together the show. So if you only get 2 or 3 hours to catch up on the news each weekend, I try to make this hour one of the more productive ones. For instance, a lot of you working might not have noticed, but we had a government shutdown this week.
Shut your ass.
I know it's hard to believe, especially if you're the independent type of person, meaning you aren't dependent on government for everything. But in case you haven't heard, we are in the midst of a government shutdown. The interesting thing is, personally, I haven't noticed it one bit. It's funny, though, to listen to both sides trying to play this game of, I got you, not just in government, but people out here in flyover land as well. It's exactly what I talked about during the whole Trayvon Martin debacle. These people aren't trying to do what's best for the country. They're trying to do what's best for their team. We have a whole bunch of American citizens doing the same thing. Some people are rooting for the Republicans, and some people are rooting for the Democrats. But no one is really rooting for America, because 90% of what's going on in Washington is un-American. Demanding that someone else pay your medical bills is un-American. Demanding that someone else pay your food bill, it's un-American. Demanding that someone else pay your rent or mortgage, that's un-American. Both sides are cheering on their team, and no one cares what's happening to our country. All the Republicans want is to hand the Democrats a defeat and vice versa. Even talking to Democrats out here, as I mentioned, in flyover country, they'll tell me, I don't 100% agree with Obamacare, but we have to stand behind our president. Now, this is a good thing? This is what it means to be an American? Standing up for bad legislation just because your side passed it? Politics has become a big ego fest. It's all about winning. It has nothing to do with making the country work better. It has nothing to do with making us stronger as a nation. It's all about people's ego and whatever we can chalk up a win or not. My team has to win. I'm pulling for this side or that side, and I want victory. Doesn't matter if it derails our country. Doesn't matter if it's the right thing to do or not. Obamacare is the law of the land. Yeah? Well, so was slavery. Was that a good idea? No. It, too, was the law of the land. In fact, the Supreme Court even ruled it constitutional, just like Obamacare. If we're saying it's okay, and in fact legal, to take money from one citizen to pay the bills of another, be their medical or food or housing, whatever, if we're going to say that's legal, then we're saying slavery is legal. A slave didn't get to keep the money they earned for the plantation owner. They had to work in the fields all day just so someone else could enjoy the fruits of their labor. They didn't get any of the money they were making for their master. It all went to him. Here the government is saying, if you earn money, you have no choice but to give part of your money to another citizen that didn't earn it. You're a slave to that person. They're your master. They aren't doing anything for that money, yet you still owe it to them. That person is promising you nothing in return. The money is just taken at the point of a gun. If you don't want to pay for this other person's bills, then you'll be punished. The government will confiscate your property and sell it in order to be able to give money to this other person. Same thing for slaves. The plantation owner isn't promising them anything. He owns them. They have no choice but to work for him. If they don't, they're punished. That's what our beloved country has become. Our once free country. We've become slaves in a once free country. All because Congress wants to use your money, the money you work hard to earn. It wants to use your money to buy votes. None of it is allowed by our Constitution. Every single person in government who voted for this or is working to maintain this system is a traitor to this country, plain and simple. No other way to put it. If you're working to blatantly violate the Constitution of the United States, then you're a traitor. I don't know what else you can call it. That includes just about all present sitting congressional representatives and the president. I don't care who they are. I can go through their voting records and find numerous examples of them voting for legislation that violates the Constitution. I'm sure I could find multiple examples every week. 95% of what's going on in government is not allowed or listed as a power under our Constitution. Are you happy with that? Are you satisfied that our government is no longer of, by, and for the people? So you need to start working to get these people kicked out of office. There's really no other way to correct this. We're reaping the harvest of not participating in the political process in years past. All of this has been building while you've been putting off voting, putting off going to that town meeting, putting off attending that political rally. This is the culmination of half of this nation's eligible voters not bothering to show up on Election Day. If you don't want to do the very minimal work of trying to save this country, then there are people out there who are surely going to ruin it. They'll do the work. They'll get into office. They'll get these unconstitutional things passed. All the while, you decided you didn't want to bother. Something was better on television. I was tired after work. Besides, I hate politics and politicians. Hey, that's fine. I understand completely. The only problem is you aren't insulated from whatever it is they want to do. You might not want anything to do with them, but they for sure want something to do with you. And they have the force of law working for them, otherwise known as government. If you aren't going to participate in government, then you're going to become a victim of it. What I mean by that is what I talked about last week. In case you missed it, you can go to our YouTube archives, youtube.com/Patrick Regan Show. But I quoted John Philpott Curran, and in part he said, "The condition upon which God hath given liberty to man is eternal vigilance." In other words, God has blessed you with liberty, but it's up to you to keep it. All throughout our history, the founders of this country warned us over and over about a government that would become increasingly tyrannical should we allow it. And this is what we're living today. Our government spies on us without warrants, murders around the world without trials, demands money from us at the point of a gun to fund wasteful and unconstitutional programs. It is going to be up to us to reverse this trend, or we'll be enslaved by it. All right, we're up on the first break of the Patrick Regan Show. When we come back, we'll have some more on this government shutdown. I know you can't believe it, but it's actually happened this week. We'll also talk about Obamacare and getting to the root of all of these problems. Join us after these messages from our lovely sponsors.